The unreleased Tupac song known as My Own Style is probably incorrectly named. It's known as this in the online community, on 2010's bootleg One Nation album, and even on the Tupac YouTube channel, but the actual title should probably have been Our Own Styles, because this phrase is repeated throughout the chorus, whereas the phrase My Own Style is not spoken at all during the track. However, for clarity, I'll refer to the song as My Own Style in this review. The track doesn't appear on any of the 3 handwritten track lists Tupac wrote for the One Nation album, but it was almost certainly intended for the unfinished record, for several reasons. Firstly, the song features Greg Nice, who collaborated with Puck on 3 other One Nation songs. Secondly, Tupac and the 2 members of the Outlawz who also feature, EDI Mean and Young Noble, name-check One Nation in their verses. And lastly, there are references to peace and unity between the East Coast and West Coast all throughout the song, which was the mission of the One Nation album. The track is comprised of a pared back, bare bones beat. A simple drum pattern is accompanied by the sound of a double bass, slowly climbing up and then tumbling down the scale, and the rapper's voices, and that's it. The sound of the double bass is borrowed from a sample of Speaking of Happiness by jazz artist Gloria Lynn. Lyrics website genius.com and fan site Tupac Legacy shortcut production to Johnny J, but this doesn't sound like Johnny J's work to me at all, and I think the beat was probably produced by Greg Nice. This would make sense because it has that 90s New York vibe that Greg Nice was known for, and his vocals feature on the track as well. As mentioned, My Own Style has several references to peace between the East Coast and West Coast. In Tupac's verse, he alludes to ending the coastal feud and describes a rapper's affiliation to either East Coast or West Coast as irrelevant, because he and his crew do their thing worldwide. EDI Mean says that he is cool with people from Hoboken in New Jersey to Oakland in California, and declares that, on this day, the East Coast-West Coast war is now history. To illustrate the friendly relations, Greg Nice raps that he comes from the East to speak peace, and his comrades from the West bless him with fine Buddha weed in return, repeating this couplet for emphasis. Finally, on the outro, Tupac questions if there ever was a war between the East Coast and West Coast. He then, rather disingenuously, suggests it was only in people's minds, conveniently ignoring the countless diss tracks he himself made about numerous East Coast artists. Instantly contradicting his assertion the war was imaginary, Puck says, "Today we signed the treaty," presumably meaning a peace treaty to end the hostilities. My Own Style is notable because it's perhaps the song that states, in the clearest terms, that Tupac wanted to end the East Coast-West Coast war. This is admirable because it showed growth and maturity in Tupac as a man, and it was a wise business decision too, because it removed the self-imposed geographical limits on who Tupac could work with, which, if kept in place, would have held back his artistic development and commercial reach. I think the positive message of My Own Style would have made it a good song to end the One Nation album. There are 2 versions of the song available online, known as the original and alternate versions. However, the only difference between the 2 is the volume of Tupac and Greg Nice's vocals on the intro. Greg Nice is louder on the original, whereas Tupac is louder on the alternate version. Otherwise, the 2 versions are identical. My Own Style got an unofficial release on the 2010 bootleg One Nation album, but it has never been officially released, nor was Tupac's verse reused for any of the remix tracks released on the posthumous albums. If you've not heard My Own Style yet, give it a listen, link in the description below, then drop me a comment to let me know what you think.